Just curious. Because when am I going to have this opportunity to ask that question again? And when am I going to have another opportunity to ask about Stephen King, with who I assume you must at least like the fella. You must enjoy his writing on some level, I assume, at this point.
You know, I would be hard pressed. I think there are two people that I would call, I'm just going to call them bona fide writing geniuses. I mean, that are active and working. The aforementioned J.K. Rowling.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Stephen King. And part of it is, it's not just that they're prolific, and it's not just that they've taken a genre and been brilliant in it consistently. It's that they've taken more than one genre and been brilliant in them consistently. I mean, aside from Dead Zone and Haven, for those people who don't know, was based on The Colorado Kid, which was a short story or a novella, actually, of Mr. King's. Aside from that, Shawshank Redemption is just one of my favorite pieces of work, and then Stand By Me. Like, you don't even think about the scope and the breadth of the work he's delivered, because everybody kind of has their own favorite Stephen King moments, and then you start to look, and there is, to me, not there are two, I will call them horror genre movies, that live on for me. The Birds, because every time I pass a wire and all those birds are lined up on them, I am right back waiting for Suzanne Pleshette CGI attack from those birds. The bad CGI of its day, but in its day and time, I mean, it was extraordinary. But the birds on the wire just all laying in wait, comes right back. And the other one is It. With childhood fears of it and everything. I'm so sorry I didn't get to do that next remake.
Are we talking about the Tim Curry version, or just your version in your mind from the book?
For me, it was a combination of the book, which I read, and then the Tim Curry version. And I don't like a clown. And if I didn't like a clown beforehand, I will never like a clown in my life. I see clowns, and that's what I see. So I just think what an extraordinary talent to be alive, and to be our contemporary. I think it's remarkable.
Mr. King, if you're listening, you're welcome to come on the show anytime. That's a dream of mine. There would be 2 hours of me stammering. But because I am such a big Stephen King fan, I'm going to say this. You are not going to endorse this view, because I know that you know people in the business. I'm going to say that the newest version of Pet Sematary drove me up the wall. And it drove me up a wall because the problems that are in that story were there on the script page. Like, who greenlit this? Who was it that wrote this and thought, who's a better writer than Stephen King? This guy. I'm going to change it around and make it the way he should have done. And again, you are not endorsing this because you're probably best friends with the person who wrote it. This is something I, Robert Kent, am saying. The new Pet Sematary, not good. Thumbs down. And there have been a number of really bad Stephen King adaptations over the year, and it always strikes me because he gets a lot of at-bats for films and TV shows, and it seems like there's just a small sliver of those where they're really able to honor the book. Or in the case of The Shawshank Redemption, I would argue I think the film is actually better than the original story it's based on. And The Dead Zone was tremendous. Haven is tremendous. These are high-quality adaptations. So what is the secret to adapting a Stephen King story successfully?
Oh, gee, no pressure on that question.
No, not at all. But if anyone would know, I assume it's got to be you.
I honestly couldn't answer that. I would go back to showrunners. I would go back to who is the writer. I would also go back, though, to the studio. I think a lot of it has to do with, especially if you're going to create a series. You've got a novella that you're going to take to a series. I think it comes back to finding the core elements and then getting everybody to say, yes, this is the show. Haven is a show that I would argue got better and better. I think, some of it, when you do a one-off movie, you have source material, and you rise and fall. I mean, that's it. This is it. So Shawshank Redemption being a perfect example of, wow, talk about rising. But not everybody hits the same heights. So and some of that comes from, yes, people wanting to change things, people, I think adapting is very hard across the board for anybody who's doing a one-off in almost any, the number of times people have gone to the movies in any genre and said, I kind of like the book better, et cetera, so forth. It is legendary. But I think when it's good, it's really good. The other side of it is when you do a series, though, you also have the ability to grow that series, to say, this is where we started from, and this is fabulous. But we can grow this in little ways that don't take everybody away from it, but can get darker and more interesting and a little edgier here and a little lighter there. And you don't have that same anger as long as you stay sort of true to the genre.
That makes sense.
So
long as you're within those specific guidelines, you can avoid the angry fanboys like me raging at the screen. Why did you change it?
If Pet Sematary is a one-off movie, you have a lot of things to say about how it's done. If Pet Sematary is taken out and spun over 5 years, you're much more agreeable with the thought that we're adding in a character that never was in the book, and we're doing this and we're doing that, because now we're creating something where it's an homage to the original material, but it's not an exact replica of the original material.
And I can hear the Jim Butcher fans screaming, ask her about the Dresden Files. No, I'm not gonna. What if there was one more adaptation that you could do for Stephen King and you could take his library and pick out anything you wanted, what would be the prize that you'd want to select from there?
It's a very hard thing for me to answer because I would like to do more Haven. I think Haven is a show that has more chops to give. And so I would actually like to go back and do more Haven. That would be my dream.
And of course, it has the best dispatch radio voice ever.
Hello, thank you very much.
Okay. Well,
I would like to Haven from Laverne's point of view.
Now we're talking. That's got to be worth at least another 5 seasons right there.
Right there.